Okay, so I want to demonstrate a change to the installer. This only affects the 64-bit administrative installer in terms of why it's being done, but it's been rolled into the 64-bit user installer as well as 32 bits. Really, it's to help ensure that when you install versions of MarcEdit, that the application automatically can determine whether you've done an administrative or a user install. There's actually nothing in the application that tells it that that's the case, and so it uses a registry key to get set up and install to determine which version of the application has been installed. So I went ahead and installed the current version on a completely patched version of Windows, and I think this change happened with the spring cumulative update because I've never seen this happen before. But what's going on is in the registry, what we're seeing is that the application is automatically, Windows seems to be automatically using Reflection, which is treating the installer, even though the installer is installing as a 64-bit application, it's treating it as a 32-bit and pushing the registry keys into the 32-bit hive, which is odd. So there's an impact to that. So let me show you what this looks like. So this is an administrative install, so I can show you that. If we look here, we can see the version that's been installed is the 64-bit administrative version. But if I look at the system info, the tool thinks that it's a user install. And the reason for that is, like I said, I believe this happened with the spring, the 04 2002-20 Windows update. But what appears to have happened is that it appears that the installer, when it installs, is being passed through Reflection. And I can turn that off, and I have, but it doesn't fix this immediate problem. So I've had to come through and work on a way to fix the problem as well. So what should happen is here in the software hive, you should see a key with my name and then MarcEdit install. But what's happened is that key is getting added to what's called the 6432 node. This is the reflection node that Windows uses so that 32-bit applications can also access the registry. And we're finding it here, and that shouldn't be the case. These values shouldn't be pushed into Reflection because the bit type 64 and then the bit type is 64 and the installer. So what's happened traditionally for as long as I've worked on MarcEdit is that the reflection doesn't occur, but it is happening now. And that means that when I push an update, MarcEdit checks to see what user type you're using. And in this case, if I open MarcEdit, it's going to check the automatic update tool, and it's going to assume that it needs to download a 64-bit user version, not the administrative install. And when it installs, it'll actually install two versions of MarcEdit, a user install because that has its own sandboxed area, and the administrative install will stay and not get updated. That is problematic. So, and practically there aren't issues with having the two versions on the same system, other than it gets confusing because you may be thinking you're using your icons probably set up to whatever the type is that you're using. So if you've installed the administrative version, it's thinking that that's the version it should be using, so it'll constantly be asking you to update. But the settings and everything get shared in the same place. It's just the application itself gets stored in different locations. So to solve this problem, what I've done in the new version of MarcEdit installer is included a check that happens before the program runs. And so I have downloaded the new version of the installer that I have, that's being posted tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and run the user install, which is what MarcEdit would go and get as of right now, based on the bit type and the user type that's being able to be found because of the change in the registry. So I go ahead and run the user instance, and what happens now is the program does a check to see if the 64-bit administrative version has been installed. If it has, you now get this new box. It says that it's recommended that you uninstall this version before continuing, the 64-bit admin version before continuing with this particular installation, the user install. If you say yes, the program will prompt you for a administrative username and password because it's an administrative install, and it will uninstall the 64-bit administrative version of the application and install the 64-bit user version. However, if you wanted to install the 64-bit administrative version, this is your opportunity to say, no, don't remove it. The program will stop because it won't continue so that it doesn't get the two competing versions on the system and finishes. At that point, you will have to actually go to the MarcEdit webpage and download the 64-bit administrative version because like I said, whatever happened with the registry reflection, the automatic updating now is going to be confused. And I'm assuming just for this since April 15th, which is when the change would have happened in Windows. So I've also downloaded the new 64-bit administrative version. So I'm going to go ahead and update the current version here so you'll see it runs. You don't get one of those messages because it's the current version of the application that I'm in the same type, install type. I go ahead and say next, run through the installation. It runs just like normal, doing all the things that it needs to do, blah, 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 and completes itself here. All right, and now when I go to run MarcEdit, what should happen is with the new install, so this will be version 72160, when I use the system info, it now recognizes that it's an administrative type. And the reason that's true is because if you go back and look at the registry, come on. But if you go back and look at the registry, what I've done is in order to allow the tool to work well, I've told the program specifically that this is 64-bit version. I've disabled the built-in reflection and added to the application a mirror so that it mirrors the registry keys both in the 32-bit Hive and the 64-bit Hive. Partly in case you ever have to run MarcEdit, like you have a 64-bit version, and for some reason you have to restart the application in 32-bit mode, the program will still recognize that the actual install that's been done. So if for some reason it needed to update itself while running in 32-bit mode, it would know that this is a 64-bit version of the application and that it's the administrative install. And we can see that in the keys. So if we look at the keys here, we'll see that again in the local key and software, now in the 64-bit Hive, we see the appropriate key that's been created. This is the key that MarcEdit's looking for when running in 64-bit mode. And then you can see the Hive key that's been created as part of the reflection that's occurring within Windows, the current service pack of Windows 10 for some odd reason. So that will fix going forward the automatic updating, so there won't be an issue. But what it does do is in the future, one of the things that did occasionally happen is people would install, they would download the wrong user type of the application and end up getting multiple versions of MarcEdit installed. Administrative installation and user installation. The changes to the installer should prevent that from happening by giving users an additional prompt that a conflicting version of the application is already installed to the user type that you're trying to install of the application right now, and then giving you the ability to either stop the process or uninstall that version currently sitting on your machine. If you have two versions of MarcEdit installed, so let's say you ran the installer and you're on the new service, the new cumulative update with Windows 10, and the confusion occurred, and you'd run the update. Now you have both a user install type and an administrative install type sitting on your system. Pick whichever version you want to run, download that installer, run it. MarcEdit will recognize that you have the mix-matched types. It will uninstall the mix-match type if you ask it to, and then it'll upgrade the type that matches the installer, and it'll do that all at once. So you come out with a clean installation. So that's the change that's happened with the installers as of, like I said, 4/30/2020 with the update. And this is specifically to address a problem that appears to be showing up since the cumulative update that would have been posted around April 15th. I just happened to notice it today when I was testing the installers on my test systems, which run in a virtualized environment. So today just happened to be the day that when I restarted all the virtualized machines, first thing I usually do is make sure that all of the recommended Windows updates have been installed, mostly because that allows me to see if there's been any changes in the .NET framework. Sometimes bugs get introduced during service packs, but this appears to be something completely different due to the cumulative update. So the installer's been updated to address that. I'm not sure how many people will see these new message boxes or if they will impact people, but that's what's going on.